We've all been waiting with bated breath for the next big thing in artificial intelligence, and it's finally here. Meta has finally unleashed their much-hyped Llama 3 model, and just as we anticipated, it's a game changer. What's so special about it? Well, it's open source, which means it's freely available for anyone to use. Mark Zuckerberg himself is hyped about it, and for good reason. And there's more. They've made Meta AI super easy to use across all their apps. Now you can access it right from the search box on WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Messenger. No more hunting around for answers, it's all right there at your fingertips. And if you prefer to go old school, they've even got a new website, mie.com, where you can access Meta AI from anywhere on the web. Now let's get into all it offers. First off, let's talk about open sourcing. Basically, Meta's throwing the doors wide open and sharing their Llama 3 models with the world. Why? Well, because they believe in the power of open source. It leads to better, safer, and more innovative products, and that's something we can all get behind. Plus, it's not just about making Meta products better. These models could be a game changer in fields like science and healthcare. Now, onto the juicy stuff, the models themselves. Meta's kicking things off with two versions of Llama 3, one with 8 billion parameters and another with a whopping 70 billion parameters. These babies are top-notch when it comes to performance, and there's even more in the pipeline. We're talking about multi-modality and bigger context windows, which basically means these models are about to get even more powerful. Meta's also cooking up a monster of a model with over 400 billion parameters. Yeah, you heard that right. It's like the Hulk of AI models, and it's still in the training phase. Early indications suggest that it's going to blow the competition out of the water when it comes to benchmarks. Speaking of benchmarks, let's talk numbers. The 8 billion parameter model is already giving the largest Llama 2 model a run for its money. And the 70 billion parameter model, well, it's crushing it with an impressive 82 MLU, that's machine learning units, on reasoning and math benchmarks. As for the big boy, the 400 billion parameter model, it's currently sitting at around 85 MLU. And it's not even finished yet, but wait, there's more. Meta's also integrating real-time knowledge from Google and Bing right into the mix. It's like having a super smart sidekick that can pull up the latest info at the drop of a hat. That's not all, and Meta AI's got some seriously cool new creation features. Now it can whip up animations and high-quality images faster than you can say supercomputer. It's like having your own personal artist on speed dial, and the best part? It's all happening in real time, so you can see your creations come to life right before your eyes. Pretty wild, right? Now here's where things get really interesting. There's this model called Claude Sonnet, part of Claude 3's lineup of big language models. People thought Claude Sonnet was top dog, but it turns out Meta's Llama 3 has swooped in and taken the lead. We're not sure exactly how big Claude Sonnet is, but the fact that Llama 3 with its 70 billion parameters is outperforming it is pretty mind-blowing. What's even more surprising is that Llama 3 isn't just beating Claude Sonnet, it's also leaving other models like Gemma and Mistra 7b instruct in the dust. This is a big deal because it shows that Meta is serious about dominating the AI game. But why does this matter? These models aren't just for show, they have real-world applications. Developers use them to build all kinds of cool stuff, from chatbots to language translation tools. So when Meta's models outperform the competition, it's like they're setting the standard for what's possible in the world of AI. But here's the thing, nobody saw this coming. Sure, we knew Meta's models were good, but surpassing giants like Claude Sonnet and Gemma. So what's Meta's secret sauce? Well, for one thing, they're constantly updating and improving their models. It's like they're always pushing the envelope, trying to outdo themselves with each new release. And it's paying off big time. They're not just keeping up with the competition, they're blowing past them like they're standing still. Now, some might say, but wait, aren't these models just for developers? Sure, they might be designed with developers in mind, but their impact goes way beyond that. Think about it. Every time you use a chatbot or a virtual assistant, you're interacting with AI. So when Meta's models perform better, it's like they're making your digital life smoother and more efficient without you even realizing it. Now let's talk about some other cool stuff they've done. They wanted to make sure their AI works great in real life, so they ran it through tests to see how well it performs. They made this big set of questions like, 1,800 of them, covering all sorts of things people might ask an AI to do. Stuff like asking for advice, coming up with ideas, answering yes or no questions, writing code, being creative, and lots more. They even made sure their own team couldn't peek at these questions to keep things fair. This is a big deal because it shows they care about how real people use their AI. They understand it's not just about winning fancy awards or getting top scores on tests. What matters most is how useful the AI is for regular people like you and me. So by testing it with real-world questions, they're making sure it's actually helpful in everyday life. When they tested their LLAMA 3 model against other fancy AI models, they found some interesting results. They put it up against Claude Sonnet, one of the big dogs in the AI world, and guess what? LLAMA 3 won most of the time. That's pretty impressive, right? It won 52% of the time, tied 12.9% of the time, and lost 34% of the time. But here's the thing. Even when they compared it to other models like Mistral Medium and GPT 3.5, LLAMA 3 still came out on top. And get this, it's doing all this while keeping the same number of parts as before. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Well, it's clear that Meta's LLAMA 3 isn't just a fancy toy for tech geeks to play with. It's a real game changer in the world of AI, designed to make our lives easier and more convenient. And with every test they run and every improvement they make, Meta is showing that they're committed to creating AI that works for us, the people. When we look at how well Meta's LLAMA 3 model performs compared to other models out there, it's pretty impressive. Even against big names like Mistral and Gemma, LLAMA 3 stands out. Just take the 38 billion parameter version, for example. It totally outperforms Mistral and Gemma in terms of what it can do. And then there's the 70 billion parameter model, which beats Gemini Pro 1.0 and Mist's 8x22b. That's surprising, especially since Mistral just released that 8x22b model. Mistral, by the way, is an open-source AI company that doesn't have nearly as much money as Meta. They're like the underdogs, but they still manage to do really well. Now, let's talk about how LLAMA 3 is built. It uses something called a tokenizer with a vocabulary of 128,000 tokens. Basically, it helps the model understand language better, which makes it work a whole lot better. And get this, LLAMA 3 was trained on over 5 trillion pieces of language. That's a huge amount of data, way more than what LLAMA 2 was trained on. Plus, they made sure to include a lot more code this time around, 4 times more in fact. And here's something cool. They included over 5% of non-English data in the training set, covering more than 30 languages. Now, they do say it might not work as well in other languages as it does in English, which makes sense. But still, having such a diverse training set is a big part of why LLAMA 3 is so good. When it comes to training models like this, having good data is super important. We've seen it before with smaller models like Orca 2 and Microsoft's F1.552. So, by using such a massive and diverse dataset, Meta has really set LLAMA 3 up for success. And it shows. LLAMA 3 is outperforming other models left and right, even ones that were just released. Also, Mark Zuckerberg mentioned Meta's LLAMA 3 is gearing up to be a whopping 400 billion parameter model. As of April 15th, 2024, this mega model is still in the training phase. Now, this pre-trained model is seriously heavy duty. The benchmarks we're seeing are quite surprising, especially since Meta hasn't trained a model this big before. This is the first glimpse of what Meta can really pull off compared to those other big companies. It's fascinating to watch how fast these language models and AI systems are evolving as these big players try to outdo each other and push the boundaries of what's possible. Jim Fan provided a comparison table that sheds light on the upcoming LLAMA 3 model. Fan says this new model will be a game changer, bringing open-weight access to a GPT-4 class model. This is huge for the research community and startup scene. When we compare it to Claude 3, Opus, and Gemini, LLAMA 3, the 400 billion model, is still in the training phase and expected to improve even more in the coming months. There's a ton of research potential waiting to be unlocked with such a powerful backbone, so we're expecting a surge of innovation across the board. What's really mind-blowing here is that LLAMA 3 is essentially on par with GPT-4. Having an open-source version of GPT-4 means people will have the freedom to build all sorts of applications and AI systems that weren't possible before. This is going to shake up the whole ecosystem in a big way. However, there's a question about safety with this model. When you open source something, there's always the risk of bad actors trying to manipulate the model. It'll be interesting to see how Meta deals with this as their model gets even smarter. But looking at this table, it's pretty jaw-dropping. It's outperforming the rest of the models on the MLU and holding its own on the GQ and human eval. Even though it's a bit behind on the math benchmarks, it's still in training, so we can expect it to get even better. Alright guys, we've come to the end of this video, and if you enjoyed it, do well to click on the like and subscribe buttons. Now that we've covered all the exciting details of this release, I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Were you surprised by the benchmarks? Do they exceed your expectations? How about the prospect of having access to an open-source version of GPT-4 in the future? It's a game changer, isn't it? And are you ready to try out Meta AI? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Don't forget to check other videos on our playlist. We've got some amazing contents for you. See you in our next video.